Hey, scrappy people, it's Tracy Reed here today, and I'm coming at you with another hybrid layout using another template. So this one is a little bit different than my last hybrid layout using a template. I'm going to be putting in digital papers into the template before I before I print. So I'm going to be deleting all of these extra embellishments that I'm not going to use to print. And then I'm going to pull from my XOXO papers, which is my new digital hybrid collection that just released today, and make sure that I pull in my photos because I'll want to print those as well. So I have all of these layers to fill up with papers, and then I will print the papers in the layer shape and cut and adhere hybrid style. So I'm in Photoshop right now, and I'm just dragging in papers that I want for the paper strips and clipping them to the layer that I'm going to be using for the paper strip. And if you don't know how to do this, there are a ton of tutorials for using templates on sweetshopsdesigns.com, and I will link to a few of them in the notes if you're interested in learning how to do this. And I am just about done adding in all of my papers. I'm going to start adding them to the X's and the O's now. And you can see on the template that there are white outlines for each X and each O, and I will be cutting those out on my silhouette instead of printing them. So there we go, we've got everything filled in, and I've turned off the matte for the photos because I'm going to just mat them on regular cardstock. So I'm changing the canvas size to 8.5 by 11 because that's what I will be printing on, and I reduced the size of the main background paper to 8.5 inches since that's the largest size square that I can print. But I'm going to keep everything else. Well, actually, I'm going to reduce the size, sorry. I'm reducing the size of everything else as well so that it's all proportionate. So I'm just turning on a few of the layers, so seeing what I can fit on a single 8.5 by 11 canvas. So it looks like I can fit this 8.5 square and 3 paper strips, so I'm going to print that. Borderless. And then I'm going to turn those layers off and turn on other layers and see if I can fit all the rest of this on one 8.5 by 11 canvas, which I definitely can. So I'm going to move these paper strips down, and then I'm going to rotate these so that they fit. And then I will print this canvas as well. And then I'm going to turn on all the X's and the O's outlines, and I'm going to turn them black so that they're easy to trace in the Silhouette Machine software. And I'm going to save them as a PNG file, and then I will open them up in the Silhouette software and have those cut out on white cardstock. And last but not least, I need to print my pictures. So I'm just going to move them closer together, and then I will change my canvas size to 4 by 6, and they fit perfectly. And I will print them on a 4 by 6 piece of photo paper, and I'm ready to move out of Photoshop. So here I am in the Silhouette software, and I'm going to open up the XOXO file I just created. And then I will create cut lines for it. And that's really easy to do with the trace function. Select the whole thing. There we go. Now I will cut them out on white cardstock. And this is what the layout looked like in Photoshop before I moved to paper. So I'm going to replicate that on my paper. Now, because I had to reduce the size of the template to 8.5 inches, I'm going to do a little bit different matting than was in the template. So I'm going to mat this paper on pink, and then I will mat it again later on down the line. But first I'm going to arrange these paper strips that I've cut out just like they were in the template. And they are kind of wonky, off-centered. And I'm just making sure I have them in the same order that I had them before. And then I will tape them down. There we go. And now I'm going to mat these photos, and I'm not going to mat them on pink. I thought about it. I decided to go with just plain white instead. So I'm pulling out a white scrap piece of paper, and I'm going to glue them down, and then I will trim them. These photos are from fall, but I'm totally okay with using them for a Valentine's Day layout because he's wearing red, and I don't know, I feel like Valentine's colors are neutral enough. So I'm going to use liquid glue around the outside edges of this X and all of the X's and all of the O's, and I will mat the X I cut out, trim it up, make sure it fits right. And then I'm going to create a little bit more depth on this layout, and I'm going to pop all of these X's and O's up on foam. So I just use regular old fun foam from Michael's or Walmart, and I'm just cutting strips out that will fit on the back of these letters. I want them to have a lot of support, so I'm going to do the whole X and not just the centerpiece. And then I will repeat this cutting and gluing process with each of the letters, but I'm going to fast forward through that part so you don't have to watch the whole thing. And there we go. Now they're all on foam and they're all outlined, and I'm ready to start putting them down in the same way that they were on the template, which has become a sketch now. So I'm going to line up my photos, and I'm just placing everything here to make sure that it all fits right and looks the way I want it to look, and then I will glue them down. Also, I'm making sure that the foam on the back of the photos supports the photos where they need to be supported. All right, all of the X's and O's are glued down, so I'm going to place the photos now. And I have replicated the original template, and I'm ready to move on to embellishing, but I decide at this point that I need another mat. All of that white around the edges makes the whole thing feel like it's floating a bit, and it's just too small, I think. So I'm going to use black, and I'm going to mat the pink on black again. Just a small outline around the edges, about I think it's about an inch all the way around. And that is much better. I think it anchors it way better than it was before. Making sure I get it centered. And I can start embellishing now. So I created a bunch of die cuts and stickers for this digital collection. And so I have them all on the left-hand side here. And I'm going to go through, first I'm going to place some florals, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to just kind of go through everything that I have and see what I want to use, and I'll put what I don't want to use aside. That's generally how I operate when I scrapbook. I go through everything first, keeping out anything that I may or may not use and discarding anything else to limit my options and make sure that I'm not hemming and hawing over embellishments forever and ever and ever. So I've got these florals how I want them, which was the main part of the design. And now I'm just going to go through everything, and I'll fast forward through this part. All right, I have everything picked that I may or may not use, including all of these cute little hearts. And I'm just going to scatter them in the corners like they were on the template, just randomly. And now I have all these adorable word bits and banners and things like that that I want to incorporate into the design. So I am adding them to the top and bottom of these photos. And then I'm also going to create some clusters over the X, the outside X and the outside O. You can see I'm just auditioning things, seeing if I want to use them, where I like them. You know that I love to embellish, so even though this layout is pretty wild, not wild, but you know, busy, I guess. Busy to begin with, I still have to use my embellishments, especially since I work so hard designing them. I love using the things that I've designed. I know how much work goes into them, so it's fun to make sure that they are used. So this collection, of course, is sort of Valentine's themed. However, I'm just making a lovey-dovey layout about my son. There are a lot of embellishments that would lend themselves well to something like a, you know, a husband and wife layout or something like that. So I just kicked all the ones out that pertain to that, but I still had a lot left over that worked very well for a layout about my sweet kid. So all of these photos and X's and O's are popped up on foam, so I'm having to pop up the florals on the outside edges to make sure that they are supported underneath, so that, because they're, you know, they're going to go over the top of the photos, so they need to have support on the outside edges. But I think that this is the basic layout that I'm going to go with, so I'm going to pop a few more of these up on florals, on foam, and then I will fast forward through all of the gluing down process, since everything stays exactly where it is right now. So I don't think you probably want to watch me glue it all down in the exact same spot that it's in, especially since this video is already kind of long, since I incorporated the digital tutorial into it. So here we go. Everything is now glued down, except for these last florals. I left the floral placement in because they do change a bit when I am messing around with them. So these florals are included in the die cut pack, and they come with a black outline for the silhouette machine if you want to die cut them. So in that black outline, I created halos, white halos around the outside edges of the die cuts to make them look like stickers. So that's really fun. Okay, so I decided once I had everything put down on the spread, it looked pretty done to me. I think that it looks great the way it is, but I wanted to add just a couple more things to give it a little bit more texture. So I'm going to pull out the cute little pink heart sequins that I got in the Cocoa Daisy January collection, and I'm just going to scatter them in with all of these cute outline hearts too. So got everything glued down. I'm gonna pull out those sequins, maybe. Oh yeah, I'm pulling them out now, getting them out of the little bag. There they are. I'm just gonna dump a few in my hand, and then I'm gonna randomly put glue in spots all over in each corner, and then put down the sequins, and I will fast forward through that. Oh, there we go. And they are all down, and this layout is all done. Da, 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 da. Well, with the exception of a little glue. So if you enjoyed this layout, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I will definitely get back to you. And if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I'd love to have you. Thank you.